The Lifeguards of Southern California protect over 400 miles of coastline. And nothing impacts their day like the weather.
As lifeguards, a lot of us are amateur meteorologists.
Good weather brings a lot of excitement, a lot of action.
On these beaches, lifeguards are the first responders.
I have a 911 call of a distressed swimmer.
I like those exciting days where you don't really know what's going to happen.
Dispatch, the person injured on a vessel.
They are there to save you. They are there to lifeguard. In San Diego, the temperature is often regulated by an inbound sea breeze. Winds from the west sweep across the cold California current and bring cool air onto the beaches.
If you're on the coast, temperatures are relatively cool. If you go inland, you don't have to go inland too far. They can get quite hot in the summertime. When it's that hot, sometimes people want to get away from that heat, and they're going to want to come to the beach where it's considerably cooler.
At the northern end of San Diego, beneath Torrey Pine State Reserve, lies Black's Beach. Tucked tightly up against the 400-foot cliffs, this 5-mile stretch of sand is only accessible by steep and narrow trails.
Black's Beach is a very unique beach. The guards that work up here have a lot of challenges. Doesn't have a lot of good access via improved trails or roads. And if we have an injury down on this beach, it's a lot harder to get a paramedic down there than it is if we have an injury near the boardwalk, say at Mission Beach.
The San Diego Lifeguards' presence at Black's Beach is most visible with their special outpost known as the Perch. Set high atop the cliff's edge, from this tactical vantage point, the guards have a bird's-eye view on several miles of beach below, and a front row seat to the beach's other attraction, paragliding. Here, the winds are like no other place in Southern California.
The weather at Black's Beach is a very interesting area. We have these relatively large cliffs, and when the sea breeze starts to kick in, the sea breeze is going to be moving from the water toward the land, but when it hits those cliffs, it is forced upwards, and it gives a nice uplift to the air that the hand gliders will take advantage of.
Without the weather, we wouldn't be flying. It's very important to the sport, no matter where you go in the world to fly, and specifically here. And it's really unique, this location. It has this specific coastal eddy, which is referred to quite often, and it creates very favorable conditions here at Torrey Pines.
Experts like Jeremy Bishop have learned to navigate the sky for rides that last up to 8 hours.
Paragliding is close as you can get as flying like a bird as possible. You're just focused and enjoying, and you're feeling the next good piece of wind. And the only sound you have is a little bit of wind over your ears. If you're close to a friend, you can literally talk to them, no problem. Typically, we're flying between 4,000 and 1,000 feet above the ocean. Flying without a motor and only using Mother Nature is just something very, very special. There's only a few types of aircraft in the world that can maintain and sustain a flight plan, and the paragliding is at the top of the list for that right now.
Although paragliders are relatively easy to fly, one can never underestimate what happens when the weather or wind changes.
We had a hang glider fall approximately 200 feet. He's on the Citizens Trail right now.
Lifeguard Jason Yeager witnessed the unthinkable.
I was watching a paraglider above me in the canyon lose wind in his sail, and I was watching to see when he was going to watch him recover, but he didn't recover. I'd say he fell at least 200 feet, from 200 feet up. It was a loud noise, and he bounced off the cliffside pretty hard.
Lifeguard Yeager rushed up to the victim, climbing in an area he'd known his entire life.
I grew up here in La Jolla, University City area. Went to University City High School, played every sport there is. Was heavily involved in basketball, Pop Warner. Then I started realizing that I was more of a water type of guy. So I got into water polo and swim. Took that with me to college.
Jason earned a degree in marketing from Long Beach State, but felt that his calling was with the United States Navy. So he enlisted, excelled, and found himself in the middle of the toughest course on the planet, Basic Underwater Demolition SEALs Training, or BUDS.
The training you get at Buds it's a kick in the pants. It pushes your limits, not only physically, but mentally as well. I mean, you don't get much sleep. And after going through something like that, nothing else really seems that difficult.
Unfortunately for Jason, during the 24-week training, his dream of becoming a Navy SEAL suffered a tragic fate.
I was injured out. I had some nerve damage in my neck, compressed some discs.
The injuries he sustained ended Jason's path to the Navy SEALs, but the La Jolla, California native was driven to serve. So he joined the San Diego Lifeguards and became a part of the elite crew that patrol the demanding Black's Beach. Yeager immediately calls the accident into La Jolla Shore's main tower, then scrambles to aid the victim.
When I got to the victim, I couldn't see any broken bones, but he had severe chest and back pain, and he had loss of consciousness, and he was coughing up blood. Well, after doing an initial assessment on his limbs, I couldn't find any broken extremities, and I saw some major bruising on his lumbar area on his back, and I figured maybe he had some traumatic injuries internally.
Lifeguard Sergeant Troy Keach is at La Jolla Shores when the call comes in.
Drove up here, Code 3, and in the way, we try to get everything going. I got units coming from all over the city, fire units, and I've also got a fire helicopter responding.
Number 2, go ahead. We had a hang glider fall approximately 200 feet, so we're going to be requesting you to head that direction. And I'll establish command once I get on scene. You 8 minutes.
That's definitely a Code 3 fall, and I'm thinking the worst. I think somebody's going to be dead.
Meanwhile, 3 miles south at La Jolla Shores, the inland heat wave continues to bring people to the beach. But a lack of strong winds on the coast has also turned up the temperature at La Jolla Shores.
It's been really hot, and it's Sunday, and it's midday, and there's some surf. There's about 1 million people on the beach. When you get lots of kayaks going out, lots of surfers, lots of swimmers, waders, people hanging out on the beach, then eventually something's going to happen.
Lifeguard Hodel's words prove to be correct. As the heat wave continues to beat down, an 18-year-old female kayaker has returned to the beach complaining of exhaustion. 10 minutes earlier, her kayak had capsized at sea. The extreme heat and trauma of the accident has left the woman in bad shape on the beach.
What do you feel like right now?
We're driving south, and one of the kayak guides flagged us down, and he said that there was a girl that was brought in from her tour that was potentially dehydrated.
Yeah, our pulse is super fast. It's like your chest and your legs, what? Feels numb.
Given the victim's condition, Lifeguard Sergeant Ben Lewis radios dispatch.
Dispatch 31 Sam, requesting medics from Avenida de la Playa for an 18-year-old female. She's alert and oriented ×4. Her chief complaint is exhaustion and tingling in her extremities after kayaking. She's in mild status. 31 Sam, you are getting engine 9, medic 24.
With several minutes before paramedics arrive, lifeguards will put their EMT training to the test to keep the victim stable.
Immediately when we saw her, it was pretty clear that it was going to be something really serious. She looked like she was barely conscious. She kind of had the eyes rolled back in her head a little bit. Dizziness, a little bit of difficulty breathing. All that stuff is serious stuff. We put her on oxygen. We took all her vitals. We kept questioning her about her medical history.
No allergies? No meds? What'd you have to eat today?
Couldn't quite figure out what exactly was going on, but tingling throughout her whole body.
Check her eyes, are they pearl?
Yep, pearl and equal. So definitely wanted to get her to a higher level of care.
What finger am I touching? Get respiration, fella? We'll check right now. Did you say you swallowed a little bit of water, though, when you were out there?
Say again?
Barely can't hit.
You feel like you can't move? Okay, well, we're gonna take care of you here.
She said she swallowed a little bit of water on the way in, and she was just having a little bit of difficulty breathing.
So she fell out of the kayak at some point?
Yep.
Any medical history?
No medical history, no allergies. She's definitely kept saying she was dehydrated, she's thirsty.
Hi there, how are you guys?
Thanks.
Paramedics arrive on scene, and the lifeguards bring them up to speed on the victim's status.
He was complaining of dehydration and thirsty. She was in the kayak. She was on a kayak, so she might have exerted herself. But we were getting a pulse of 100 and a BP of 90/60. But she definitely looks really tired. Eyes were pearl. She's tingling all over her body.
Now extremely weak and barely conscious, the lifeguards and paramedics begin to move the victim. They must get her off the beach and to the hospital quickly.
Transfer to the gurney.
She'll go to the hospital and get checked out and get a further evaluation, but over time she definitely deteriorated. Her condition got a little bit worse.
Stuff over the rail and down on the ground.
Extreme dehydration and heat exhaustion are very dangerous. If not remedied quickly, they can result in permanent damage to both the internal organs and the brain. Meanwhile, 3 miles north of La Jolla Shores at Black's Beach, lifeguards are responding to a paraglider accident in the steep cliffs. Lifeguard Jason Yeager was the first responder.
I was watching a paraglider lose wind in his sail. I'd say he fell at least 200 feet.
Given the nature of this incident, the Lifeguard Cliff Response Unit and a rescue helicopter are heading to the scene.
Lifeguard dispatch, we just need a trauma pack, O2, some rope.
With help on the way, Lifeguard Yeager sends out more vital information.
Conscious breathing at this time, complaining of chest pain.
Firecopter 2 is on the scene quickly. Their first order of business? Dropping a fire department paramedic to assist Lifeguard Yeager.
31 Sam, we're in somewhat of a precarious position sitting down on a steep cliff. There's 3 of us here. Citizens IC, copy.
Sergeant Troy Keach is the incident commander. He takes control of the operation, coordinating all safety and rescue assets on scene.
And the most dangerous part of this call is actually just the cliffs, and whether they're stable, whether they're not. Was my rescuer in a position where he was secure and had really good footing? It turns out it was pretty dicey. You know, it was pretty difficult ledge that he was on. Is it safe for the helicopter to come in? Is it safe for us to carry the gear down these cliffs? There's a variety of things that I have to consider as a commander. Thinking pretty difficult climb to get down to that victim.
Put a belay on that.
Flake it out, John?
Yeah.
Paramedic Barry Links was dropped in by helicopter.
Because of the slope that we were on, we opted to request the guards that were on the trail to set up a anchor line and drop down a rope to us.
Hey, all right, I gotta chase it out, right?
With the immediate danger of sliding down the cliff eliminated, Lifeguard Yeager and Paramedic Links go to work.
We knew he was going to be tracked on the helicopter, so we had a foldable basket or ferno carrier that he pulled down with him. We opened that up and then slowly, methodically placed the victim onto the ferno carrier. The victim was in quite a bit of pain and discomfort. We had to try to move to his likings and his comfort level, so there was some modifications made to his placement on there. As far as taking some of his clothing and our clothing and placing underneath his neck, and putting his arms in certain positions because he wasn't very comfortable with his arms. His shoulders were giving him problems.
As the rescue team secures the victim in the ferno carrier, they prepare for the next vital step, extraction by helicopter.
As soon as we got him on the ferno carrier and all stabilized, the helicopter made a re-entrance into the canyon.
But this extraction is fraught with danger. Crew Chief Tim O'Malley operates the winch that will hoist the paramedic and victim off the cliffside.
As we fly into these areas, the winds are unpredictable. It's unlike, you know, the rolling terrains of mountains or the backcountry areas. This is a very steep, sharp cliff edge. So the winds act differently. It's something that we've come accustomed to and we've trained for, but it presents an additional challenge.
I got the hook, I made the connection to my harness, then I bend down and I make the connection to the bag that is securing the patient.
As they take off, the victim and paramedic dangle 185 feet below the helicopter. Paramedic Links does his best to put the victim at ease.
As we were coming up the hoist, I was talking to the patient and reassuring them. It's often, you know, a pretty scary experience.
With no time to waste, the rescue helicopter departs instantly for the trauma center. Traveling at 40 miles per hour, paramedic Lynx and the victim are carefully hoisted up to the moving helicopter. Using this advanced maneuver while en route to the hospital saves precious time for the victim. Meanwhile, back at the site of the accident, Sergeant Troy Keach still has work to do.
When the helicopter lifts off, I want to make sure that all of my lifeguards are okay. I'm also concerned about, on this particular call, that the guy's wife and son were down on the beach somewhere, and I wanted to be able to find them and let them know what happened so, you know, we can get his family with him up to the hospital.
The victim was a German tourist. His wife and son had made their way up from the beach to see the rescue. Only then did they find out the victim was no stranger.
From Germany?
Germany?
Yes. He's from Germany?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you were at the hospital. He was talking. You're at the hospital. So let's go. Let's walk up. Let's walk up top. You want to walk up with us? Yes. Since you were telling us what's going on?
Yeah. I'm gonna go down.
You guys speak English?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, when he was taken off, he was talking, okay? He's okay for now.
He was taken off the flight and his hang glider crashed.
Yes.
And the helicopter took him to the hospital.
Yes.
He's at Scripps La Jolla. So we'll go up there and we'll talk to the paramedics.
The victim arrived at Scripps La Jolla Hospital within 5 minutes and was rushed to the trauma center while his wife and son were escorted to the hospital by police. For lifeguard Jason Yeager, his dream to serve in the Navy SEALs may be over, but his drive to serve is a testament to the spirit of the lifeguards at Black's Beach.
The first lifeguard in seeing Jason did a great job. He actually saw the accident, he made the right radio transmissions, he got the right resources going initially, and he gave us great updates, and he got to the victim.
The best thing about being a lifeguard is it's the perfect lifestyle. I mean, you're doing what you love to do, and you're helping people out, and you're staying healthy and happy.
Sheltered by an offshore canyon, Del Mar, California hosts a beautifully protected 2-mile strip of beach that attracts thousands of people each year.
Del Mar has its own unique weather pattern. Mostly you have a gentle sloping beach. The waves don't get too big there.
But these calm coastal waters also attract something else: stingrays.
The stingrays can be found all over the beaches in San Diego and Southern California, but there are certain hot spots.
And beaches between Del Mar and La Jolla record hundreds of stingray incidents each year.
Typically stingrays like very calm, shallow water.
In the shoal, stingrays are free to congregate and hunt for small crustaceans, while being able to avoid many of their natural predators. Unfortunately, these are the same areas where beachgoers like to wade and swim.
North Beach Station 3, stingray victim, need transport.
7-4, 390 will be en route.
Where were you at when you stepped on this?
Dude, I was like probably like 4 feet out.
Right out here?
Yeah.
What we had was a male who stepped on a stingray, received a small laceration to the foot.
Yeah, that's too much blood for shit, right?
In Del Mar, we tend to get at least 3, maybe 3 stingrays plus a day. So stingrays are relatively common.
Southern California is home to a variety of ray species, but it's the tiny, round stingray that packs the biggest punch. Measuring on average only 10 inches across, this little creature has developed an extremely effective defense mechanism.
Typically, this ray likes to bury itself in the sand, and it does that for protection. But unfortunately, because it's partially buried, it's very hard to see. So if a beachgoer comes out and happens to step on one, it's going to trigger a reflex to cause the tail to swing up, and the tail is where the stinger is located, the spine. And this spine, it has venom on it, and so, of course, when the stinger goes into your foot, it's not only the physical pain from the barb going in, but it's also this toxin that's going to start to really be very painful.
Many people describe stingray wounds as feeling like 10 bee stings all at once. But the pain from a sting can vary from mild to extreme and is generally associated with the deepness of the wound and one's own pain tolerance. Often, victims won't feel the full effect of the sting right away, So it's important for lifeguards to treat the wound before the pain increases.
It's really case by case. Some people are in here for a half an hour. Some people are in here for a few hours.
The most common treatment for a stingray sting is to immerse the wound in very hot water, as hot a temperature as you could possibly stand. And that's because the toxin that comes from the stingray is made of a protein. And by exposing it to very hot temperatures, you're breaking down that protein so that it's no longer active and it's no longer able to really hurt you.
You're probably the first of a few to come here today, so.
Stingrays are generally very docile. Whenever they sting a person, it is never an attack. It is never done on the offensive. It's always done in defense. And so the best way to avoid being stung by a stingray is to shuffle your feet. If you're shuffling, dragging your feet, kicking sand in front of you as you're walking, you're going to scare away the stingray. It's going to move away very, very quickly, as opposed to just, say, marching on the sand where you could definitely step on one, and if you step on their back, you're going to trigger that reflex and have them come up and sting you.